Hello and welcome. So this is going to be a lore reading. We're going to figure out what we learned. And let's see, what all did we do this week? I think I've taken care of a couple things in Denerim and then gone on to free Honora and get ourselves captured in the process. Alright, what do we got here? The Anderfells. The Anderfells are a land of shocking extremes. It is the most desolate place in the world, for two blights have left great expanses of the steppes so completely devoid of life that corpses cannot even decay there. No insect or grub will ever reach them. Kind of interesting is I've heard that there are some areas in the Chernobyl exclusion zone where things just are not rotting. Like, there are dead trees and leaves that have been there for decades without rotting because there's nothing living there to dispose of them. Or at least they did. It is a land filled with wonders like Merdane, with its gigantic white statue of Our Lady carved into its face, her hands outstretched and bearing an eternal flame, or Weishaupt Fortress with its walls of living rock towering over the desolate plains below. Why are the walls of living rock? The Anders, too, are people of extremes, the most devout priests and the most deadly soldiers, the poorest nation in the world and the most feared. From Pursuit of Knowledge, Charles of Gentry Scholar, Antiva. In the rest of the civilized world, it's common belief that Antiva has no king. I assure you, gentle readers, that this is untrue. The line of kings in Antiva has remained unbroken for 2,500 years. It is simply that no one pays any attention to them whatsoever. The nation is ruled, in truth, by a collection of merchant princes. They are not princes in the literal sense, but the heads of banks, trading companies, and vineyards. Seems like vineyards would be the smaller of those, but their powers conferred strictly by wealth. But Antiva is not primarily renowned for its peculiar form of government, nor for its admittedly unparalleled wines. Antiva is known for being a house of crows. Since Antivans are well known for being good at everything but fighting, it is more than a little ironic that Antiva possesses the most deadly assassins in the world. Their fame is such that Antiva keeps no standing army. No king is willing to order his troops to assault her borders, and no general is mad enough to lead such an invasion. The attack would likely succeed, but its leaders would not see the day. And from In Pursuit of Knowledge, the travels of a Gentry Scholar by Brother Janet TV. Gwaren. The human settlement of Gwaren is built directly on top of a dwarven outpost of the same name. Prior to the First Blight, in a time when Ferelden was not yet a nation and was still carved up into barbarian tribes, the outpost served as a source of salt and a means by which the dwarves could reach the sea lanes of the Amaranthine Ocean. Unwilling to come to the surface, the dwarves made an agreement with the local town to build a port and relied on the humans to ferry goods between the ships and the underground outpost. This made Gwaren a prosperous place and extraordinarily wealthy for a time. When, in the Divine Age, the Dwarven kingdoms fell to the Darkspawn and the deep roads were closed off, so too did the dwarves disappear from Gwaren. The human settlement, the envy of the surrounding barbarian tribes, was assaulted and sacked, its wealth stolen. The town remained, however, and despite its remote location, continued to find value as a source of fish and timber. As the first settlement liberated by King Marek and Loghain during the Ferelden Rebellion, Gwaren was eventually granted to Loghain when it became town in 911 Dragon. From Ferelden Folklore and History by Sister Katrina, Gentry Scholar. Characters. Queen Honora. We have been given the gift of freedom by our forebears. Let us not squander it. The only child of war hero Loghain MacTair, Honora was never one to stay quiet in the background. It is common knowledge that in the 5 years Honora and Kaelin held the throne together, she was the one wielding the power. She is held in much higher esteem than her husband by the people of Ferelden, nobility and commoners alike, and commands the respect of even foreign nations. Having once inspired Empress Celine of Orlais, Honora of Ferelden is the solitary rose among the brambles. She sent her maid, Erlina, to Arl Eamon's estate to ask for Duran's help in escaping from Arl Howe, but as they fled Howe's estate, Honora in disguise, they were ambushed by Ser Cauthrian there to arrest Howe's murderer. Duran surrendered to permit Honor's escape. Jarl Wyndon Howe. It appears it will be civil war after all, despite the Darkspawn pity. The Arling of Amaranthine winds in the sinuous northeast of the coast of Ferelden. The waking sea is known for its temper, and the storms that sweep in from the warmer northern waters are brutal and sudden. These are the lands of Rendon Howe. He was born during the occupation, and like many nobles at the time, joined Prince Merrick's rebels. He fought alongside young Paris Kuzland, future Terran of Hyever, and Leonas Freeland, future Jarl of Southreach, at the bloody Battle of White River. It is the most catastrophic defeat, of the entire occupation, from which only 50 rebel soldiers escaped alive. Although he was decorated for valor by King Merrick, Howe's abrasive manners have earned him almost universal dislike among his peers. Howe died at the hands of Duran and Dunerim. First Blight, Chapter 4. Founded at Weishaupt Fortress in the Anderfels, the Grey Wardens offered humanity hope in its darkest hour. Veterans of decades of battles with the Darkspawn came together, and the best amongst them pledged to do whatever was necessary to stem the tide of darkness that swept across the land. These great humans, elves, and dwarves pooled their knowledge of the enemy and formed a united front to put a stop to the Archdemon's rampage. And stop it they did. Ballads are still sung today of the first Grey Warden charge into the waves of Darkspawn at the city of Nordbotten. Each warden facing 10 or 20 Darkspawn at a time. Squadrons of Grey Wardens mounted on their mighty griffins, soaring in the blackened skies and battling the terrible Archdemon with spear and spell. Oh, what a sight it must have been! Incredibly, the Grey Wardens won that first battle. They raised their arms in victory, and suddenly there was hope. The Grey Wardens led the lands of the men and the last stalwart defenders of the Dwarven halls against the hordes of the Archdemon Dumont for the next 100 years, gaining and losing ground, but never backing away. From all over Thedas they recruited whoever possessed the skill and strength to raise the Grey Warden's banner, making no distinction between elven slave or human noble, and finally, nearly 2 centuries after the first old god rose from the earth, the Grey Wardens assembled the armies of men and dwarves at the Battle of Silent Fields. It was then that Dumont finally fell and the First Blight ended. The Tevinter Imperium would face a new challenge with the coming of Prophet Andraste. Thoughts of the Darkspawn grew. The Blight grew distant. With Dumont's defeat, the Darkspawn were no longer considered a threat. But with the wisdom of hindsight, we know that conceit proved foolish indeed. The task of the Grey Wardens was far from over. Tales of Destruction of Thedas by Brother TV, Chapter Scholar. Controls. Right. And that's it for this one. Thank you for watching. Do any relevant things with these buttons, and have a nice day.